You've got your bug-out bag packed. 3 months of freeze-dried meals, water filtration system, solar panels, a plan. You've read the forums, you've watched the videos, you're ready for WW3. Meanwhile, there's a guy sleeping under the 6th Street Bridge in Los Angeles who will outlive you by 6 months. He's got nothing. No supplies, no plan, no backup location in the mountains. When the grid goes down and trucks stop rolling, he'll be eating while you're starving. He'll be warm while you're freezing. He'll be alive while you're a statistic. Let me tell you why. Street survival is grid-down survival. The skills that keep homeless populations alive in American cities right now are the exact skills that will determine who survives the first month. I'm going to show you 30 specific tricks, ranked by how fast you die without them. But first, you need to understand what actually kills people when civilization stops delivering. Here's what most preppers get catastrophically wrong about collapse. They think it's a resource problem. They stockpile food, water, ammunition. They buy land in Montana. They build bunkers. They convince themselves that whoever has the most supplies wins. And then they die anyway, because supplies run out. Bunkers get discovered. Rural properties get overrun. The prepper with $100,000 in gear starves to death in week 3, while someone with nothing survives month 6. Let me show you why. I pulled the mortality data from every major collapse event in the last 30 years. Hurricane Katrina, the Syrian Civil War, the Venezuelan economic collapse, societal breakdowns where the trucks stopped rolling and the power went out, and people had to survive without infrastructure. The causes of death are consistent, disturbingly consistent. Number 1 killer, exposure. Not starvation, not dehydration, exposure. People die from heat stroke in summer, hypothermia in winter. They die because they don't know how to regulate their body temperature without electricity. Number 2, infection from minor injuries. A cut on your hand becomes sepsis. A blister becomes gangrene. These aren't dramatic deaths. They're slow, preventable, and they kill more people than violence. Number 3, social isolation. The lone wolves get picked off. They run out of something critical. They get sick. They make one mistake and there's nobody to help them recover. Number 4, inability to navigate hostile urban environments. They get robbed. They get targeted. They stand out. They don't know how to move through chaos invisibly. Notice what's missing from that list. Lack of freeze-dried meals, lack of water filters, lack of tactical gear. Now here's the data point that should terrify every suburban prepper. The average life expectancy for homeless individuals in major American cities is 50 to 52 years old. That's 25 to 30 years shorter than the housed population. But here's what matters. They're dying from the exact same causes that kill people in collapse scenarios. Exposure, untreated injuries, social isolation in some cases. But the survivors develop networks, inability to navigate hostile environments until they learn. The ones who survive long-term on the streets? They've developed skills. They know how to stay warm when it's 20 degrees and they're sleeping outside. They know how to treat a wound with no medical supplies. They know how to find food when the grocery stores are empty. They know how to move through a city where being noticed gets you robbed or arrested or worse. They've been practicing grid-down survival every single day for years. Not reading about it, not watching YouTube videos, actually doing it. When WW3 comes and the power grid fails and the supply chains collapse, these skills determine who makes it past week 1. Not your stockpile, your skills. And right now, the people sleeping under bridges have skills you don't. We identified 5 core categories of knowledge that homeless populations have and housed populations have catastrophically lost. Before I give you the 30 tricks, you need to understand the framework, the 5 categories of homeless survival knowledge. Ask yourself how many of these you actually know. Category 1, thermal regulation without infrastructure. This is the ability to stay warm in winter and cool in summer without electricity, without heating systems, without air conditioning. In a grid-down scenario, the first cold night kills people. Hypothermia sets in when your core body temperature drops below 95 degrees. Most people don't know how to prevent that without a thermostat. Homeless populations know layering systems. They know which materials trap heat and which ones wick moisture. They know that wetness kills you faster than cold. They know how to create insulation from trash. Housed populations? Total dependence on HVAC. When that fails, they freeze or they cook. Category 2. Caloric acquisition in depleted environments. This is finding food when the stores are empty, when the restaurants are closed, when there are no delivery trucks. In collapse, the grocery store shelves go bare in 3 days. After that, you either know where food actually is, or you starve. Homeless populations know urban foraging. They know which dumpsters get filled when. They know which plants are edible. They know how to identify food sources that housed people walk past every single day without seeing. When the trucks stop rolling, this knowledge is the difference between 500 calories a day and 0. Category 3. Invisible movement through hostile territory. Homeless people navigate threats constantly. Police, gangs, territorial disputes, predators. They've developed the ability to read an environment, identify threats, and move through space without becoming a target. In WW3, when you've got refugee columns, armed checkpoints, desperate mobs, this skill set determines whether you make it across town or whether you get robbed at the first intersection. Housed people have no framework for this. They've outsourced all threat management to police. When police are gone, they're targets. Category 4. Zero-resource medical care. Treating injuries and illness without doctors, without hospitals, without pharmacies. Homeless populations know how to clean wounds with street resources. They know infection prevention. They know pain management without pharmaceuticals. In grid-down scenarios, hospitals collapse by day 3. After that, a simple cut becomes a death sentence unless you know how to treat it. Most housed people can't even clean a wound properly without neosporin and Band-Aids. Category 5. Psychological resilience under chronic deprivation. The ability to maintain sanity and function when comfort is permanently gone. Homeless individuals endure daily humiliation, constant threat, zero privacy, permanent discomfort. They develop mental frameworks for surviving conditions that break most people. In collapse, people don't just starve physically. They break mentally first. The despair, the loss of routine, the grinding deprivation. Most people quit before their body gives out. Homeless survivors have already passed through that breaking point and came out functional on the other side. 5 categories, 30 tricks. We're going to rank them in 3 tiers based on a simple metric: how fast you die without this knowledge. Tier 3. Foundation skills. You won't die immediately without these, but you'll die slowly and miserably. These are the baseline competencies that separate a comfortable death from a prolonged nightmare. Trick 30. Newspaper insulation. Crumpled newspaper between your clothing layers creates air pockets that trap body heat. One newspaper can add 10 degrees of effective warmth. Homeless people know this. They stuff their jackets, their pants, their shoes. Housed people have never needed to think about warmth without a heater. First cold night without power, they learn. Trick 29. The rotation system. Never keep all your valuables in one place. Split your resources. Money in 3 locations, food in 2. Anything critical gets distributed. When you sleep, you can't defend everything. The rotation system means even if you get robbed, you don't lose everything. Grid down means no police. You have to sleep sometime. Trick 28. Gray man theory. Dress and move to avoid attention in hostile environments. Don't look wealthy. Don't look weak. Don't make eye contact. Don't stand out. Homeless people master this or they become targets. Housed people are clean, well-fed, scared. They radiate victim status. Trick 27. Public bathroom mapping. Know every public restroom, water fountain, and facility within a 2-mile radius of wherever you are. When your home water stops, where do you actually go? Most people have no idea. Homeless populations have this data memorized. Trick 26. The 24-hour food clock. Knowing which businesses dispose of food at what time. Grocery stores trash perfectly edible food on a schedule. Bakeries discard day-old bread. Restaurants dump unused prep. This isn't scavenging, this is logistics. Trick 25. Visible vulnerability screening. The ability to identify who will victimize you within 10 seconds of an encounter. Body language. Eye contact. Positioning. Homeless people develop this instinct because the ones who don't get hurt. Housed people have no baseline for threat assessment. Trick 24. Cardboard architecture. Building a dry, wind-resistant sleeping space from materials most people consider trash. Cardboard layered correctly creates insulation and weather protection. It's engineering, not desperation. Trick 23. The 3-sock system. 2 socks on your feet, 1 dry pair in your pocket. Rotate them. Foot care is mobility. Mobility is survival. Blisters, trench foot, frostbite all end your ability to move. Once you can't move, you die. Trick 22. Free clinic navigation, where actual free medical care exists and how to access it. Not emergency rooms, actual clinics, community health centers, mobile units. When pharmacies are looted and hospitals are overwhelmed, these resources still function for a while. Trick 21. The library sanctuary. Public libraries offer heat, cooling, bathrooms, water, electrical outlets, internet, and safety during business hours. They're free. They don't ask questions. In collapse, they'll be one of the last public services still operating. Tier 3 keeps you alive in the medium term. Tier 2 keeps you alive in the immediate crisis. These are the skills that separate Week 1 survivors from Week 1 casualties. Tier 2. Immediate crisis survival. Without these skills, you don't make it past the first week. The difficulty escalates. The stakes compress. Trick 20. Water source hierarchy. Knowing which water sources are safe and in what order to use them. Running water first, then rivers, then ponds, then standing water, then chemical sources, then nothing. Homeless populations know which public fountains are actually drinkable in every city. They know which streams are contaminated. Municipal water stops on day 1 of grid failure. After that, you either know where water is or you die in 3 days. Trick 19. The quiet burn. Creating heat without visible smoke. Wrong fuel creates smoke columns that attract attention. Attention means people. People mean threat. Dry wood, small fires, proper containment. Heat dispersion. Homeless people learn this in cities where open fires get you arrested or robbed. Trick 18. Stealth camping. Sleeping in urban environments completely undetected. Where to position yourself, how to pack out, leaving no trace. When your home is compromised, when you can't stay in one place, where do you actually go? Housed people have never considered this question. Trick 17. The trust audit. Determining who is safe to approach for help and who isn't. Homeless people develop algorithms for this. Appearance, location, body language, eye contact. They make life or death decisions about trust daily. Housed people trust the wrong people and get hurt. Trick 16. Dumpster timing and safety. Not just which dumpsters, but when food is disposed, how to access without injury, how to avoid police, which days, which hours. There's a science to this. Grocery stores follow schedules. Homeless populations know those schedules better than the employees. Trick 15. The cache system. Multiple hidden resource locations with rotation schedules. Never put all your supplies in one spot. Distribute them across different locations. Mark them in ways only you understand. When one cache is discovered or compromised, you have others. Trick 14. Pain management without pharmaceuticals. Willow bark contains salicin. The compound aspirin is based on. Cold therapy reduces inflammation. Pressure points can interrupt pain signals. When Walgreens is looted and hospitals are closed, these techniques are all you have. Trick 13. The predator baseline. Distinguishing between 3 threat types: territorial, opportunistic, and predatory. Each requires a different response. Territorial threats want you gone. Opportunistic threats want your stuff. Predatory threats want to hurt you. Homeless people learn to read these distinctions instantly. Housed people use one response for everything. Call the police. Police are gone. Trick 12. Seasonal migration patterns. How homeless populations move through a city based on season and resource availability. Summer means different water sources than winter, different shelter locations, different danger zones. In collapse, knowing when to abandon a fixed position saves your life. Trick 11. The battery hustle. Understanding what actually has value in a barter economy. Batteries, lighters, socks, feminine hygiene products. These items become currency when money doesn't work. Homeless people already operate in this economy. Tier 2 covers the first week. But the first 72 hours? That's where most people die. Tier 1 is the top 10, the skills that determine who lives and who becomes a statistic in the first 3 days. Tier 1, the top 10. Master these or you're dead within 72 hours of grid failure. These aren't tricks you practice. These are skills that become instinct. Trick 10, the 3-location rotation. Never return to the same sleeping location 2 consecutive nights. Patterns get you killed. Someone watches where you sleep. They come back the next night. They rob you or worse. Homeless people who violate this rule don't stay homeless long. They get robbed, beaten, or they disappear. In World War III, when you can't stay home, others will track your movements. Predictability is death. Trick 9. Opportunistic hydration. Identifying and accessing water sources during movement. Rain collection from any surface. Condensation harvesting from pipes and windows. Building system access points that still have pressure. You can't carry enough water to survive. 3 days without water kills you. You need to hydrate constantly while moving through the environment. Homeless people do this automatically. They never pass a water source without assessing it. Trick 8. Conflict de-escalation without authority. How to diffuse threats when you can't call police and you can't show force. Verbal patterns that reduce aggression. Body language that signals non-threat without signaling weakness. Strategic submission that ends conflict without injury. Homeless people use these techniques multiple times per day. Housed people escalate conflicts and die because they never learned that pride is worth less than survival. Trick 7. The layering doctrine. The precise science of clothing, layers for temperature regulation. Base layer wicks moisture away from skin. Insulation layer traps air and creates warmth. Shell layer blocks wind and water. Each layer has a specific function. Remove layers before you sweat. Add layers before you shiver. Homeless people know this system instinctively. Housed people wear one jacket and freeze to death. Trick 6. Edible urban foraging. Which plants in every American city are edible and nutritious? Dandelions. Purslane. Plantain. Clover. These plants grow everywhere, in every city, year-round or seasonally. They're free, they're nutritious. A person who knows urban foraging can get 500 calories a day from plants that everyone else walks past. When the stores are empty, this is the difference between slow starvation and functional nutrition. Those are tricks 10 through 6. The top 5 are different. These aren't skills you practice. These are skills that homeless people have internalized so deeply they don't even think about them anymore. They're reflex, they're instinct. And these are the skills that will determine whether you're alive on day 4. The top 5. These are instincts for homeless populations and completely foreign to everyone else. Trick 5. Threat vector mapping. Constant real-time environmental analysis. Who in this space is a threat? Where are the exits? What could be used as a weapon? What are the sight lines? Homeless people run this calculation continuously, subconsciously. They enter a space, and within seconds they know every relevant tactical detail. Housed people are oblivious until someone attacks them. By then it's too late. Trick 4. The cooperation paradox. Knowing when to cooperate and when to isolate. Wrong alliances get you killed. Isolation gets you killed. There's a middle path. Homeless people calculate this instinctively. They know which people to trust for which things. They know when to share resources and when to hide them. They know when being part of a group provides safety and when it makes you a target. Housed people don't have the framework for these calculations. Trick 3. Invisible resource caching. How to hide supplies in an urban environment so you can retrieve them, but others can't find them. False bottoms in public spaces. Markers only you recognize. Public-private boundary zones that get overlooked.